Alrighty, welcome to the March crossover special of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. Adam's going to push buttons and make different people pop on the screen as we go today. I've got my topic ready to go. We just need you, otherwise we're awkwardly talking to ourselves in an empty room. That's pretty sad sounding, isn't it? Like, you guys got to help us out more than that. If you are watching today or maybe later on, do me a favor, comment on the video where you're at, what you liked, what you didn't like. Throw us a thumbs up or a thumbs down either way, and subscribe to whatever channel you're watching this on. We've got it streaming across multiple things right now. So however you're catching us today, make sure you follow us so you can see us again later on. So Adam, appreciate you being here today. Nick as well. Today we're going into an interesting topic, appointment setting versus door knocking. I don't think you guys are going against each other in it, but I'm excited to hear both of your feedbacks about it. Adam, how's your week been? Appreciate you being on with me.
So far, so good. I mean, I think I wrote, I don't know, around 4,200 maybe so far in 3 days. So not bad. Kind of related to that topic. I mean, I would say a good portion of them this week were off of appointments. So it just kind of varies. You know, that's one thing I always talk about with the appointment setting is that there's leads of, you know, especially when we have these appointment setters, like they're calling leads that I've already pretty much kind of thrown to the side, that I'm not even working anymore, but they're still calling them and they get the appointment set on them. I wrote one yesterday. It was, I don't know, $130 a month. And it was a lead that was probably 6 weeks old, where I've already kind of moved on to new stuff, but they're still calling the old stuff. So that's one thing that I like about having the appointment setting is that they're calling the stuff that's older, that while I'm moving on to the new stuff, well, they're setting up those appointments and I'm writing business that I probably would not have written had I not had that going on for me.
Absolutely.
Are you starting by door knocking, or are you starting with calling through and setting your own appointments?
I give the appointment setters my leads. So first thing when they come in, I give them all the leads, and then they set up the appointments. And then, I mean, usually there's space in between appointments.
Mhm.
Like very seldom do I get a full days where like every single spot's booked. So there's time to fill in the gaps with leads to door knock, and then also when there's no shows. So
Cool.
That's really how I do it. I mean, I'll take the same leads and, you know, they're calling and calling and calling. If they can't reach the people, or even if they reach them and they tell them they're not interested, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still showing up and door knocking them.
Yeah. You should definitely ignore it when they tell you that they're not interested over the phone.
Oh yeah,
it's meaningless.
It was funny, Nick. We were discussing different strategies with it, Adam and I, recently, and he door knocked the lead, and the person said, "Well, the person that called me wouldn't give up." I'm like, "Well, then they're doing their job. Outstanding, yeah. Perfect. That's exactly what I want them to do." But we're also instituting something, and I'm curious what your thoughts are with this: is texting the lead. Like, if you can't get them on the phone, if they don't answer the phone, if you already called them 6 times that day, texting them a picture of the lead and a little bit of conversation and booking the appointment via text. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't hate that. I would prefer that if you've made contact with the lead. Like if there is contact with the lead, but the appointment couldn't get booked for whatever reason, I think that's a good time to text. I think texting prior to getting a pickup is potentially at least going to burn that phone number. Now, if you've got lots of phone numbers to use, and some people do, you know, you're using a dialing system or whatever, then maybe that doesn't matter. But my philosophy when it comes to getting in front of prospects is you don't want to be too specific about the purpose of the meeting until you are standing in front of the prospect and it is the right time to give them the purpose for the meeting. You know, I believe strongly that there is a path that you have to walk people down. And if you jump too far ahead on the path without bringing them along with you, you're going to just leave them behind, and they're going to just go off in their own direction to I guess complete the metaphor. Yeah. But so I'm not opposed to texting leads. to texting like images of the lead and saying, hey, this is why we're calling you. If you're at the stage where you're getting ready to drop
Give
that
up.
lead anyway, if you're going to give up on it anyway, like you might as well throw the Hail Mary. But I would recognize that it is a high risk, high reward play
Good
as
point.
opposed to the standard risk.
Good point. Well, before we divulge too far into strategy in appointment setting, we're supposed to be discussing appointment setting versus door knocking. When I got started in the industry, I was taught how to door knock,
Yep.
wasn't taught anything about appointment setting. Was probably taught that it was evil, I think. Maybe not. But I door knocked the hell out of my leads. And in the first probably 2 or 3 years of my career, wrote plenty of business, 3, 4, 5K a week pretty consistently. But it took all week to do it. It took like from the start of Monday to the evening of Friday to beat those leads into oblivion and to generate 3 to 5K of premium consistently off of them. So it's a successful way to write business, but in my opinion, it takes a lot of time to write that business. Nick, what are your thoughts on just the time investment around door knocking?
So I think it's really interesting to hear you say that, because I was talking to you before we started recording. One of the very first things that you and I ever did on social media in this type of format before was door knocking versus appointment setting. At the time that you were still like a diehard, I never call anybody, I don't set appointments door knocker. And so it is interesting to see how you've evolved that way. I don't door knock anybody anymore. I don't recommend that other people shouldn't door knock. You probably should. You should probably knock on doors if you've got time in the field. In between appointments, you should probably be spending that time productively knocking on doors and trying to get leads resolved. I don't anymore. I have my reasons, but they're my reasons, and it's not advice. But I only run appointments. I only set my own appointments. I don't use an appointment setter any longer. Sorta, kind of. If I'm being entirely honest, I do have an assistant that will occasionally help me set some appointments. But I'd say 75% of the appointments that I run are booked by me personally. And I have reasons for that. And I did use an appointment setter for a number of years and have reasons for having stopped. And that's maybe something we can get into later on, or I don't know, now if you want, depends. But yeah, I think for efficiency's sake, I think the science is absolutely in having preset appointments is the more efficient way to go. It will free up your time. It will give you stronger appointments. You have to work psychologically in the appointment itself on you as the selling agent. It's less psychologically exhausting. There's all sorts of upside to having appointments.
Well, Adam, let's get your thoughts on this before I take it any further. You are a convert to appointment setting. You came to the Church of Appointment Setting, sponsored by me, and converted over to that religion. Do you believe that you might be more time effective running appointments versus purely door knocking?
Well, yeah, most definitely. I mean, time is money. If you can have those appointments set, well, for one thing, I always like having that early appointment, the 9 a.m. appointment, because it gets me up and out of the house. If I don't have that 9 a.m. appointment, usually I tend to drag my feet a little bit, and sometimes I'm not leaving my house until 9:30, 10 o'clock. So right there, I mean, it helps to get me up and out having that appointment set. But just, yeah, having that structure throughout the entire day, having more, again, it puts you in front of more people. But again, I think honestly, I don't know. I feel like it's important to do a little bit of both, because otherwise we will be wasting a lot of leads too. And like I said, I mean, the chances of your whole day being filled with appointments is probably pretty slim unless you have a huge inventory of leads and you are able to get your whole day filled every single day, which, like I said, I mean,
Pretty rare.
usually pretty rare. So that's why I like having both.
I won't leave the house if I don't have 8 appointments booked.
Well, you're also working. Well, this is how many days in the field, though?
2.
Okay. Well,
2.
if you were to do that over the course of a 5-day period, how many leads do you think it would take to book 5 8-hour days?
I mean, more than I get, but also, I mean, how many appointments do you really need? You know, like if I like, Like if I'm running 20 appointments over 2 days, like how many more appointments do you need? I mean, like maybe you need more, right? Maybe you do, but but I don't. I don't want to work more than that. Um, so and other things come up, right? Like stuff ends up filling the rest of the time. If you have a lot of presentation activity, stuff fills that time. You start having people who have had banking issues that you need to go fix. You start having people who have referrals that you need to go work on. Maybe they want to buy another product. They want to do Medicare. They want to do something else. So your week starts filling up pretty quickly. If you've got, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I think anybody who's got 20 scheduled appointments every week is probably going to do okay.
Yeah, they're going to sit with 20, sell or present at maybe 15 and sell half of that. You'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But that all kind of comes down to, are you buying enough leads to set enough appointments to see enough people? Most people aren't. And that's kind of the big problem here.
It is. It is. I mean, like I will say I get 25 leads every single week, and I have for 10 years at this point, and I've worked the same areas for 10 years at this point, and so, I mean, I've got 1,000 unresolved leads in every city that I've never worked.
Thousands.
That I've ever worked. Like I've got like it. At a certain point, you just never run out of leads if you're doing it correctly.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it's like when you talk about stuff, we often talk about stuff from the new agent perspective because so many agents never graduate to the next level. All this crap is meaningless if people aren't getting leads on a regular basis. You keep trying to set appointments over the same 20 leads that you've been working for 3 weeks. It's just silly at that point. But Adam, talk to me about door knocking in the sense that you're working a 3, 4, 5-day work week as a new agent because you're mentoring a lot of new agents, integrating door knocking into the appointment setting mix as well.
Well, like I said, I mean, I teach my guys to put a route together and plan as though their appointments are not going to be home. So then that way, let's say they have a 9 o'clock appointment, they show up, maybe they got a 10:30 appointment too, but if that 9 o'clock isn't home, well, then at least they have something already set up, somewhere to go. If they're working direct mail, they're going to have other leads in that area. But if you show up and they're not home and then you have to spend a half hour trying to put a route together to find someone else to see, well, then you're not going to have time to see someone before that next appointment. And then you just wasted 90 minutes. So if you plan ahead and you put a route together the night before and just set it up as though your appointments are not going to be home, well, then you're always going to know your next move. You're already going to kind of have everything lined up for who to go see if they're not going to be there. Hopefully they'll be home, but if they're not, at least you already kind of know where you're going to be going.
Nick,
that's a great idea. I've always done a similar thing, but I've used like a map system where I have all my leads dropped as like pins on a map, so that wherever I am, I can open up the map and I can just see where my next nearest lead is, which is kind of neat. But I like the idea of pre-routing it. Say that again.
What do you use for that?
So I used for years. I used the Zendesk Sell CRM, which has that functionality built into it natively. Which is one of the reasons why I hung on to it for so long, until I realized like I hadn't actually knocked on doors since 2021, and I was more willing to let it go. But I think that's a fantastic functionality. There's another CRM that does something similar called Navigator, which might be a little harder to track down, but it's with hang on, let me Google the name of the company.
Well, Toolkit's building a CRM right now. Is that a kind of a feature?
Yeah.
Is that a feature you would want?
I would. I think that's the feature that is missing from most CRMs, because most CRMs are built for telephone sales agents, and having a feature like that is really important. So Senior Agent Tools has the Navigator, which also has that, and there's an app called Spotio, which also has a similar mapping feature, all of which are pretty excellent. I'm sure there's other people that have a similar thing, but I think having that ability to open up a map. I know an agent who did it with just Google Maps. I don't like the way that works for a lot of reasons, but it's definitely doable. You can build it yourself with Google Maps. But I love the idea of having just like a pre-planned route to like take a little bit of time, because it gives you some intentionality to your day where you're taking time and saying like, these are where the appointments that I have that are set. Let me go through my other leads. Let's see who else is there. Let's think this through a little bit, and let's do a little bit of additional planning. And I really do like that. It like you can't just fly by the seat of your pants if you're doing that. You have to take the time and make a plan. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, I think it's important that you've got your appointments set, or if you're just purely door knocking, you've got your door knocks routed, and then you've got a plan B. My plan B
Yeah.
is typically like existing book of business, lapses, add-ons, people that liked me, I kind of liked them, comfortable fallback options if the day is turning to crap. And then plan C's are like, I might take a little bit of work, but I can probably close them over the phone if I need to, or go back and see them, or like so many different opportunities that there's no room in the head to think, well, what do I do next? Well, I can do this one, or this one. And then you just stack so much activity and opportunity. You're just destined to have something come out of it. But I think from the beginner level, there is a lot of value to door knocking. You're brand new to the business. I was brand new at one point. When I believed in door knocking, I didn't have that many leads. I had 15 a week, 20 a week, eventually 25 a week. I didn't have enough volume in appointment setting for it to make a lot of sense. So I do see some value at times to the door knocking model, but I believe you evolve into the ability to appointment set more the more your career evolves. Agree or disagree, guys?
100% agree.
Well, one thing too, I mean, with the appointment setting, Chris and Nick, I mean, one thing I run into so often, and I mean, you can even look at the notes from the appointment setters. There's just so many people that don't even answer their phone. So if they screen their calls, I mean, half of them now they like set it to block any number that they don't recognize or that's not in their contacts. So if you're strictly setting appointments, you're going to be wasting a lot of leads. And that's why I think it's important too to be able to do a little bit of both. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of your leads are going to go to waste. But yeah, like you said, with door knocking, when people first start, I think I think it builds a lot of confidence. It's a tough thing to do, but the longer you do it, the better you get at it. I mean, I see even these guys that I brought on that are just brand new to the business. I mean, I feel like they're getting more and more confident the more they do it. It takes people out of their comfort zone. I mean, not many people like just going up to a door and knocking on it with a lead, but it's kind of weird because I'm more confident to go up to a door and door knock it than to pick up the phone and call a lead. Like I hate calling my leads. I prefer just taking it and showing up.
I think one of the gifts that I had given to me is that I was a paramedic before I was in the industry. So knocking on a strange person's door was kind of normal. I didn't have to worry about that in the very beginning, thankfully. But I got a pro tip, and then I want to transition into our other topic for our next 12 minutes. When you're going to an apartment building, and I'm sure we all go to a lot of apartment buildings, I try to make sure that I bring all of the leads that are also in that apartment building with me. And I've noticed I've been working in Baltimore the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. Tons of apartment buildings. Like I've never seen so many senior high-rise buildings in one city. Well, maybe because I spent too much time in one city, but that's not the point. Bring your leads with you. I had 3 appointments. I kid you not. Nick, tell me if this has ever happened to you. 3 appointments, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, all in the same building. Has that ever happened to you?
Where they've just been in a row like that? No. I have a similar, like in Allentown, Pennsylvania, there's a lot of those apartment buildings also. So I will find myself in the same building 2 or 3 times in the same day sometimes, or even in the same week. I tend to try to, when I'm setting appointments, I tend to try to not discriminate between the next lead up. And so I probably am a little bit less efficient because I don't tend to schedule them back to back to back like that in the same place.
I think,
but I think, yes, absolutely. 100%. You are always going to get multiple leads in the same apartment building. Like if you're mailing to an apartment complex, it is it is almost impossible for you to not get at least 2 leads back from that complex if you get even one.
Yeah.
If you get one, you're going to have gotten 2. And yeah, man, that's a great way to go. I kind of like most of these apartment complexes are going to have somebody on staff who's like a social worker or an event planner or somebody like that. I'm not saying you should go meet them and necessarily schedule to give seminars and stuff, although you definitely can. And I see captive agents doing that sort of thing all the time. But you should definitely like go introduce yourself to that person, because they will send you referrals. Because every year when the rent rebates are recertification is due, they're going to meet people who have these life insurance policies that they want to do something with because it's screwed up their rent rebate, and you will get referrals if you know the person that helps the people in that building with their rent rebates.
Yeah, Adam, one of our guys, Ricky, mastered many of the senior centers in his local market. And when I went out to ride with him to kind of fine tune the Medicare approach, all we did is set up camp in one building. Like, he had so many clients in that one building, we didn't have to go anywhere else for almost a majority of the day. And it just a really benefit to a lot of people to take advantage of the senior center seminar approach when you're in a lot of these buildings. We've got 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Or 21 minutes. Holy cow, that's a lot of time. Do you guys want to tackle our other topic with that we have planned?
Sure.
Do you?
Awesome. Now, here's my fear of this topic. My fear is that any time I put something online, I risk in 10 years sounding hypocritical. We almost have 10 years of content out there at this point, Nick. Adam, you've been putting stuff out there longer than most people have been in the business. So I want to apply that filter right now. If something different 10 years from now takes place today, it was unintentional, we're simply discussing current events. There we go. Current events. When it comes to agents hopping IMOs like I change underwear. How's that sound for the rest of our topic?
Yeah.
So, Adam, there's this guy I've seen change hands from should I name companies? I don't know. I don't want to be sued. Probably 4 different companies since 2020. And I have to think to myself, maybe he's a cool dude. Maybe we'd enjoy having a beer together. But is the problem them, or is it a you problem? How could somebody go through 4 organizations in 3 years?
I don't know. I mean, you see it a lot. Whenever I see that, I'm always like, who would want to work with someone like this? That everywhere they go, obviously, I think it's probably more of an ego issue than anything. Everywhere they go, they have problems. It could be an accountability issue. Everywhere they go, I guess they're just getting screwed everywhere they go. Everyone's out to get them. That they, sooner or later, maybe they'll find a place that they can call home where, it's all, rainbows and butterflies or something. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we have to hold ourselves accountable. And I feel like, honestly, I mean, yeah, there's different organizations that have different structures, different programs. Maybe some of them offer higher comp than others. But if someone wants to be successful, I feel like they can be successful in any sort of platform or with any organization if they really want to. But again, I think so much of it is just accountability sort of things. And it's always the, oh, poor me sort of mindset that where they're, everywhere they go. I mean, I worked with people in my prior company, same thing, that these guys, they would leave, and it was always somehow I was screwing them over. I have no idea how, but somehow it was my fault, not that they were not, succeeding and right business, not their own. So yeah, I think so much of it, people just need to look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm the issue. Maybe I'm the reason why I have to keep going from one place to the next.
Yeah, I think, Nick, I got a question for you on this as well, but I think there's evolutions that take place in our career, evolutions that take place in business, necessary business adjustments that need to take place. But Nick, the question I'm going to frame to you is there's a personal producer perspective of this. Mm-hmm. And there's the agency owner, you've got a downline, people depend on you perspective of this. Because the guy in question has a lot of people that work with him. And when there's disruption at this management level, it
Oh.
causes chaos for the people below them.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Like, you're going to win wherever you go. You could go win at Lincoln Heritage. You could win at Senior Life. That'd be weird. Adam would win wherever he went. He would probably win selling cars. But the people below that work with him may not be operating, and I mean this in a nice way, at that same skill set.
Yeah.
And when Adam's not steady and even keel, and when Nick's changing organizations every 4 years, which he doesn't, the people that partner below you, what do you think happens to them?
Oh, it's bad for them. I mean, it really is. Like I don't have much in the way of a downline, but I do have a few agents who work with me on Medicare, and for reasons that it's unimportant to get into, we felt like we needed to change our ultimate upline that we were getting our contracts through. And even though it was ultimately a good thing for everybody involved, including the group that we were leaving, it is a painful process for the workaday agent who's not involved in the transfer. Like it's terrible and painful, and it and like I spent like 3 months like doing detailed planning to make it as seamless as possible for the agents before they were affected by it, and it was still painful. It's not possible to not let it be painful. So that's rough. That is rough. And it's unfortunate. I do also sometimes wonder if the people who are bouncing around from thing to thing have a little bit of shiny object syndrome. I've been contemplating, I've been reflecting recently on the type of people that tend to get attracted to commission only sales. I've been spending some time with people who are professional salespeople who refuse to work commission only sales. And it is interesting to see the difference in general type of person, the type of person who's like, hey, I'm going to be working in tech sales, which, by the way, is a terrible industry to be in right now. I feel terrible for all the tech sales people, but like, I'm going to work in tech sales and I'm going to get, $150,000 a year base salary, and I can bonus my way up to $350,000 a year if I do my job well, and then get laid off. But like, it's a very different type of person who is attracted to that type of a situation where you're more a professional salesperson and less of somebody who views themselves as a business owner. And a lot of the people that come into this industry view themselves as entrepreneurs and business owners when they are not really. And I think that the person who is coming in saying, I want to start a business with no capital and no experience and no market research, but that's what I want to do, is kind of a dangerous person. They're not somebody who has thought things through. And it's a very different type of person than the type of person who says, hey, I want to just go sell. I want to go, eat what I kill and sell and go forth and make my own way in the world. And it's just going to be me. And maybe someday that'll turn into a business. Maybe someday it won't. But at right now, my goal is to just go out and sell. And I think that's a very different type of person. And you need to, if you are looking for somebody to contract with, or if you are looking to recruit somebody in, you need to be aware of and maybe beware of the different types of person that are attracted to this industry. Not all of them are good for the industry. There is a reason why life insurance in particular has developed a little bit of a reputation as being a multi-level marketing scheme. And that's not just something that we hear about in our own spaces. If you go into other sales spaces, people who talk about, hey man, selling life insurance is great, get treated the same way that people who are like, hey man, selling solar is great. It is a little bit like we're in a kind of a dark time for the industry right now. But it doesn't have to be that way. It does, like everybody watching this, I don't know how many people are watching this, 3 people are watching this, including me. I'm one of them. I think you're one of them, Chris. Like nobody's watching this, but like we can make this like we can make it a better industry. Like we really can. Talking about these things and putting that out there that it doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah, I think maybe 6 people are watching because maybe in the future 6 people watch it. See, here's the way I see it though. I think people that have a small vision are disrupted with small problems.
Yeah.
Like if you're really just looking at your vision so small that a small problem can really knock it off, and then all of a sudden you got to go work somewhere else. But if you have a bigger vision, like when Adam decided that he needed to part ways with his prior organization where he made plenty of money, had plenty of notoriety and plenty of success and stability, it was because, correct me if I'm wrong, you had a bigger vision for yourself, your family, and your future, not a small vision kind of problem. Am I spot on with that?
I'd say so. I remember we were actually in Tennessee, me and you and Waylon, a few other people. And I remember, when was that? I think that was like 2020.
Yep.
Yeah,
October
2020. Okay, October of 2020. So like in the middle of COVID. Yeah, we're all walking around with masks on and stuff. I just remember someone telling me then, because I mean, yeah, I was recruiting agents just for the one carrier. And I remember the guy telling me, why do you only want some of your agent's business? Why don't you want all of it? And it really got me thinking a little bit. Like that kind of makes sense. Why do I only want people to write some of their business? Like, yeah, it'd be great to find those agents that want to strictly focus on the one company and the one product, but it's pretty hard to do. And they're only writing a fraction of their business with me. And the IMOs, I mean, heck, they don't really like it when the agents were writing with the direct carriers. So the IMOs, I mean, they were pushing people away from writing that product or putting them on lower comp than other carriers, because like I said, they weren't making as much when the agent was writing the business there either. So yeah, it really did kind of open my eyes a little bit. And to me, it just kind of made sense. Why would I only want to earn some overrides when I could really build something and focus on everything?
Yeah, I think again that you saw something way bigger that you were pursuing and it took time to get there, but it wasn't. Nick, are there a lot of agents out there, in your opinion, with really small one call close type mentalities and visions that when one thing goes wrong, they're out the door?
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. It is people not recognizing the potential of the opportunity, I think. And I think some of it really does come down to how especially the final expense world just gets talked about. The people in the final expense world, there's so much noise. There's so much bad noise from organizations who I think are actively doing harm to the industry and actively doing harm to clients and actively doing harm to agents, that are extremely loud, extremely noisy, extremely popular, huge, massive organizations, helping people to go bankrupt. I mean, it is a problem. Like, I think it's a real problem. I think at the moment, most of that energy was for a long time being sucked away back into the ACA space, for a while. But it's kind of come back to final expense. It's not as rough as it was like 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago it was a lot worse. But the way that the job gets sold is weird. And I think it creates problems because people come in with very wonky ideas about what should be done. And I think it creates issues. I think it creates issues, and it attracts a type of agent who is not in it for the career, but they're in it because they can make $5,000 by next week and pay rent.
Yeah. Now, there are some legitimate reasons why someone should make a change, and maybe we'll take the final 5 minutes to walk through some of those. But I'm going to throw some Adam's way. I'll throw some Nick's way. But Nick, parting question for you. You've been partnered with one final expense organization for a majority of your career.
Mhm.
Can you speak to that mindset versus the mindset of an agent that says, I would never put all my eggs in one basket? And then I'll ask Adam the same question.
I don't know why I wouldn't. Right? Like so I am slow to trust. I am very slow to trust. But I'm somewhat easy to forgive. If things go wrong, I will usually give people second chances. Once you've built that trust with me. I have no reason not to trust the people who are running the organization that I've partnered with. I don't write enough business to get direct contracts of the level that I have. If I was to go direct, like I am just a single person, I write, $300,000 a year of final expense business, but not with just one carrier, with like 15 carriers. So nobody's going to give me the contracts directly. So I need to go through an organization. And honestly, I don't know why I wouldn't do that all with one group. They've been extremely good to me. They've taught me a lot. They've made me a success. They've opened my eyes to other opportunities that I would not have probably thought about. I don't know. Like Scott and Travis have been good to me. I don't have any reason to say anything bad about them. I don't know why you wouldn't. If you have a good relationship with your agency or IMO, they are going to care more about you, because that's just how humans are. If you have all of your business that can be with them.
Well said. Adam, your thoughts, because you've talked to a lot of agents. I talked to an agent that had talked to you on a toolkit demo yesterday, and you passed on him because he wanted to sell over the phone and you don't not the point. Your thoughts on partnering with one organization versus the agents out there that would call you up and say, well, Adam, I just want like a contract or two, and I want it at the highest humanly level possible to put you at the highest risk level possible. Those kind of agents versus the all-in agents like the guys you're working closely with in Illinois.
Well, like what you just said there, the risk factor. I mean, I think that, building it one agent at a time locally, really, to me, is the best way to do it if you don't want to deal with a whole lot of risk. I think that when you have agents all over the globe, it's much harder to keep track of the business. I think it's, I want to build it up the right way where I have, I'll build up this area first, and then I'll find someone to kind of take over this area before we kind of move on to the next. And then we focus on another area, rather than, to me, it's more kind of like what I've said before, where I'd rather have 10 agents writing 10,000 a month compared to 100 agents each writing 2 apps every month. I'd rather have more, less agents doing more. Because, is from a manager's perspective, it is much easier to control and to keep track of, and a lot less risk. If I have agents in a lead program and they're all working direct mail, all within this area, if one guy falls off, well, heck, I already got more than enough other people that can step up and either take those leads that the other person probably didn't work, and be able to take future leads that were probably already ordered for that person. Where if I have something if I have one agent in one area and he's ordering leads and he falls off, well, then that's how we end up with so many extra leads and inventory just sitting on leads. I mean, that's a risk too. Just a lot of extra money spent for someone that's not there anymore. But one thing I wanted to mention too, Chris, real quick, we're talking about why agents jump from one place to the next. And one thing, I did mention accountability and all of those things, but kind of going back to the brand new agent that sees an opportunity, and with that opportunity, they decide they want to get licensed, and then they want to get going in the business. I think that some organizations, they do too much of selling the dream. They sell the dream. They make it sound like you're going to make all this money overnight, like it's not going to take any effort or any hard work, like you just get licensed. Even like telesales, so many people, I think they want to get into telesales because they just think it's going to be easy. They think, oh, all these people are just going to be calling me, and all I got to do is answer the phone and take orders. And then they come to realize it's not that easy. So I think that that's what happens. I think people, they really push, the fluff and how you make all this money overnight. And then they realize, wow, I actually have to work. This isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. And they never received the proper training. They were maybe sent some videos. They were told to order some leads and they just said, go out there and get them. And they don't really have that support. I remember talking to one guy when I was looking around, when I was looking to make a move. This guy, his agency was doing, I don't know, a few million a month in premium. He said he'd never taken an agent out and trained them. All he ever did was recruit as many people as he could, send them some videos. Those that make it. Those that don't. I guess it was working for him. But you know what? You put up that much premium. I couldn't imagine to see what the persistency was on that business. Because people are
fall off for the people that were never given a fair chance to make it and became bankrupt, as Nick was implying along the way.
Exactly.
Not to interrupt your thought, but absolutely, we owe it to the people that decide to work with us to give them a fair shake, to be honest with them, to provide them the proper resources, not to BS them around, and in turn, for them to put in the amount of work necessary to be successful. This is a two-way kind of thing. It can't all be on the upline or the agency. The agent has to do most of the work themselves, but we owe it to them to give them a fair chance. That's why I hate when people aren't buying leads. You're not going to write anything next week. Stop lying to yourself. Nothing's going to happen. You might stumble into an application that falls off a week later, but stop lying to yourself. Do it the right way or go get a job. This, we only get one life to live. Why are we wasting our life in an opportunity we're not doing correctly? In our final, only 2 minutes left. Nick, give me one valid reason somebody at the personal producer level should consider making a change in the organization they're working with.
The organization that you're working with, it turns out they are stealing from you in some way, shape, or form. Reselling leads out from under you, reselling your client book as leads to other people, which, one of the major IMOs is doing that, taking their agents' books of business and reselling them as leads. That's fun. If that's the sort of thing that's happening to you, go find somebody else to work with.
Well said. Adam, one valid reason a personal producer at the agent level should consider making a change.
I'm kind of with Nick. I think you got to be able to trust the people that you're working with. Something like that, what you just mentioned, Nick, I feel like that sounds like an organization that's in desperation mode. We talk about kind of doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. To me, that's almost like a desperate situation to try to figure out ways to get out of a bunch of debt. Agents that fell off because those agents were sold that fluff and now they're not there anymore.
Yep.
And now they're trying to figure out ways to keep up with that business. So, I think at the end of the day, you got to be able to trust the people that you're working with. And if you can't trust them, well, then that's probably the best time to maybe consider making a move.
Nick, bonus question. In your house, do you run out of lunch meat first or cheese first? Because I got a lot of cheese in the fridge and no lunch meat. It's a real problem today.
Oh, no, we are definitely the opposite. We are definitely cheese goes first. So,
Adam, do you run out of lunch meat first or cheese in the fridge?
I would say anything having to do with cheese. Cheez-Its, string cheese, you name it.
That's the everything in between segment today. Guys, appreciate both of you being on today. If you watched this now or in the future, interact with this. That would be a polite thing to do. We taught you a lot, gave it away for free. We don't charge to be in a Facebook group. I think that's pretty awkward. Comment, subscribe, and share it out. And we'll hopefully be back next month for another crossover special.
Sounds good. Thanks.